you have one of the biggest hearts I've ever met in my life. You really are a special person.
I scored really low, which I knew I would. And the lady came out and said, Rick, you scored really low. And I was like, wow, could you say that any louder? And the next thing she said changed my life. 10 years ago, I was asked to leave a restaurant downtown because I was homeless and I'd eaten my food. I'd stayed in there way too long because it was cold and I didn't want to go out to my van. The owners came over and asked me to leave, and it was the lowest I've ever felt as a human being.
See this person who had their backpack stolen and go, I have to make a difference. And I always say the biggest hearts come from those who have the biggest hurts.
And if I have an influence and you are doing good work, we're going to jive together and it's going to work out for everybody.
And Rick Clark, what is next for you, my friend? What can Spokane expect?
Okay.
Hi, I'm Leslie Lowe. Welcome to Leslie's Lowdown on Life. All right, welcome everybody. I'm really excited today. We've got the founder and executive director of Giving Back Spokane. And I'm sure you've heard his name or you've seen him on social media because he's done so much for this community. Rick Clark, I'm so excited to have you here today.
I am excited to be here. Thank you.
Like, this is just, you're one of those people, like the second I met you, I felt like we were instant friends.
That's how I feel about you. Like, I know it sounds corny, but you have that presence about you that just makes people comfortable. And whenever I'm around you, I just smile like, oh, there's Leslie, you know? So I totally get it. I feel the same way.
Makes my day, actually. And I just want to say a big thank you to you from myself and from this community for all you have done. This has been a 10-year process for you. Giving Back Spokane, your nonprofit, has raised millions for those going through poverty or homelessness, as well as at the Gray Road Fire, the Oregon Road Fire. You were a big player in our telethon to raise money for those victims as well.
Thank you. I mean, that really means a lot coming from someone like you. I mean, it means a lot from anybody, but I've always adored you. So to hear you say things like that about me just make me almost have like an out-of-body experience. Like, is this really happening?
Oh my gosh, I think it's the other way around, my friend. Okay?
People are like, oh, stop it, you two.
You just stop. Just stop. I want to work backwards, though, a little bit, because, again, Giving Back Spokane is not your initial title for this foundation that you started. Again, this has been a process, and you've kind of morphed into different things to fit the needs of our community.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, 10 years ago, we started out as a outreach program. I did. On one of my worst days, I met a homeless man who had been robbed of his backpack. And it was the first time in my life that I'd ever put my stuff that I was dealing with aside, because I was always in survival mode. I'd never helped another human being in my entire life. I wasn't a bad person. I just had never been in a position to help. And so at the age of 44, I run into this homeless guy. I feel really bad that his backpack has been stolen. And so I get on social media. I had like 300 friends at the time. And I was like, hey, could you guys help me fill this backpack for this guy? And by the way, today I also signed up for SCC. I'm going to be a student after being a high school dropout for 30 years. And it just kind of morphed into this purpose that I had going to school. And it exploded in a way that I wasn't expecting. And I discovered that day how important it is to give back, even if you're having a bad day. So like a lot of people say you can give back, but they want to wait till they retire, or they want to wait till they pay their car off. I'm here to tell you that's an excuse, because I know firsthand that you can do it on your worst day. And it turned out to be the most beautiful day I'd have ever lived on this planet. So it started out as a backpack program, started handing out backpacks all over Spokane. We handed out 7,000 plus backpacks. So by the time we were done doing that, everybody had 3 or 4 backpacks, right? So we were like, okay, we can't just keep giving backpacks away. And that's when the pandemic hit and shifted us into a new gear where we started raising money to buy restaurant meals and have those meals shipped to different homeless shelters. And we raised $250,000 in 112 nights doing 15-minute awkward videos from my kitchen counter or my kitchen table. And that, not only did it launch us into another stratosphere, but it also clearly showed me that Spokane is a very special place, and that in the eye of the worst storm we've ever seen, you had 2 choices. You could go down in your basement, lock the doors, get on the internet and start telling everybody what you think is happening, or you could join virtual hands with your neighbors, even though we couldn't be around each other, and you could still do amazing things. And we discovered that, you know what, this thing might take us out as a human race, but we're going to go out on our terms. And that was so incredibly powerful to me to know that I live in a city that made that choice. And so we did amazing things during the pandemic, helped keep over 200 restaurants' doors open. And then it morphed into Giving Back Spokane, which is just to help even more people, not just people struggling with poverty and homelessness, but help anybody that we can that's struggling financially. And so, you know, when you've changed your name and your brand 3 different times, it's exhausting to do it one time. After 3 times, it's like, I'm beat, you know, I'm tired. I have other things that I want to go do with my degrees that I got. And, a lot of doors have opened. I'm going to be able to help even more people, and we'll probably get into that later. But it's definitely not a sad thing that the nonprofit is ending. It's actually a really cool next chapter.
And that's why we're chatting today, is because you've decided to shut the doors on Giving Back Spokane, but it is opening a bigger door for you.
Right. And with the 10 years of building trust and just doing what I say I'm going to do, which I looked up authenticity in the dictionary, and it's really just being who you are. And when people see that, for some reason, it's an anomaly. It's different. And I think we should all be that way. And so I've never quite understood why just doing what I think I'm supposed to be doing is such an attractive thing to people. But I've really learned that we've gotten used to leaders in our world that we look up to, and then we find out later they're not who we thought they were. Mm-hmm. And so I promised, you know, at my age, I don't have time to reinvent myself. I just want to be myself for the rest of my life. And I think my followers, we have over 100,000 followers now. Yeah. So it went from 300 to 100,000 plus. And it's just fascinating at my age to be a social media influencer, which cracks me up because that's not what I set out to do. But when you build trust with that many people, you can do things with an army of people online that we could never do before. And I could be here for 4 hours giving you examples of what that looks like, but it's just been such an amazing process. It's hard for me to even understand it.
I would say that's the beautiful side of social media, yes. Right? Because it's got a beautiful side and it's got an ugly
side. Right.
It's got both. But I would say you're the poster child of authenticity. You really are, because you are exactly who you say you are. And I always have said, because I come from my own, past, that you bring a face to the faceless.
Yeah.
Right? You've been through, and this is where I want to walk backwards a little bit, because I'm sure a lot of people, if they've not investigated you, if they don't know who you are, don't realize that you have your own story that brought you to this place on the worst day of your life, to see this person, see this person who had their backpack stolen and go, I have to make a difference. And I always say the biggest hurts come from those who have the biggest hurts, right?
Yeah.
So you have your own story.
I do. And I'm born and raised here in Spokane.
Yeah.
And I think like everybody, I tried to leave a couple times, but I went to weird places like Lubbock, Texas, and I went to Independence, Missouri, and places where there wasn't mountains and lakes and all of the stuff that we have, right? I mean, we have a river that runs right through our town. Like, what was I thinking, right? So I always made my way back to Spokane. I was never gone very long. And I've been through hell in Spokane, and I've seen the best in humanity in Spokane. And it's hard to explain, because I think a lot of people, when they struggle in a town and then they make it, they get out of that town because it's like too many bad memories. I kind of full circled here in Spokane. And so now when I drive through Spokane, I might see something that brings up a sad memory or something that I was struggling with. But at the same time, it brings up something amazing that we did during the pandemic or just recently and stuff. So it's such an amazing feeling to just stay in the town that I've been through so much with. And it's like you would with any relationship. Like, I love Spokane. I've hated Spokane. Spokane's hated me. Spokane's loved me. And it's just come full circle to where I realize, you know what? Of all the places in the world to live, this is a pretty cool city. And I will do everything I can to share the good that's happening, because it's happening everywhere. It's just, there's a lot of people sharing the bad stuff. And so I know people who are terrified to leave their house because they don't want to get in a car wreck. They don't want to be robbed. They don't want to, and that's a true fear that people have. And I want to let people know that once you train your brain to look for the good stuff, because we say light attracts light a lot. Once you truly discover these pieces of hope that you didn't think were actually pieces of hope, it starts showing up everywhere in your life. And then pretty soon your outlook on everything is a lot different. And so that's my goal, really, is to get with the younger generation. I do a lot of talks at schools and to kids, because they're going to be our leaders next. And I want them to know that there's a lot of good out there,
Yeah.
a lot of good. And we just need to highlight that sometimes.
Yeah, I know. So you're so right because working in the news business, right, we tend to lean towards, well, the story, right, which
Yeah.
is generally the bad, or what catches your attention is going to be the negative or the bad. And you start living in this world where you think everybody's bad and everything is bad. And
Right.
you don't want to leave your house because, well, it's awful.
Yeah, yeah.
And it doesn't feel good and you're scared. And so I understand all of that. And so light does attract light. And that's exactly what you did. So you took this position that you were in, the way you grew up, and then the situations that you went through with poverty and some homelessness as well.
Right.
And you took it, you turned it around, and again, you gave a face to the faceless.
So a couple things that have happened recently. I got to go to the DSHS office on Trent and give a inspirational speech to all of their employees statewide. So this is people who work with social services all day long. They see a lot of the worst situations. And the last time I had been in that parking lot was years ago when I was trying to replace my EBT card because I had lost my food stamp card. And so I literally kind of broke down and cried a little bit in that parking lot before I went in. And because I never would have a million years told that other Rick, someday you're going to come back here and you're going to give a talk and inspire people and remind them that the work that they're doing is important work. And it's not to be thought of less because you're in a cubicle and you don't see the results. And that was just very powerful to me. I've been invited to tables that I've never been invited to before. And now, I mean, I got to drop off a check for $10,000, to North Pines Middle School to take care of their Bite to Go program for next year. And I was that kid at North Pines who didn't get to eat on the weekends, and we didn't have those programs. And so to be that person to walk in with that check is just such a reminder that, like, it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter how much you've convinced yourself that you're stuck in a situation that you were born into and there's nothing you can do to change it. I'm here to show people that you can do that even in your 40s or 50s.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry. Woo, my voice cracked and everything.
I love this because I would say we have parallels in our lives. Because people would never imagine by looking at you and all you've done that you have been through anything, right?
Right.
People will look at me and not imagine that I've ever been through some of the things I've been through,
Right.
being a young single mom trying to
Scared.
make it, driving from a house to house, trying to find some place to sleep for my son and I, because, you know, I couldn't afford to live in the apartment anymore. So
Right.
people would have no idea
Yeah.
that that's a thing. And, you know, I guess I get imposter syndrome. I wonder if
Oh,
you do
yeah,
too, because
sure.
we come from that depth of like just feeling.
Oh, I still,
I
mean, I could get every accolade.
Yeah.
My office is full of awards and
Yes.
trophies, and I could get all of those, but I still am like, I still have a part of me that thinks that I'm that worthless
Yeah.
teenager that nobody connected with, because honestly, being a boy at 14, 15, like nobody in the world connects with you. And my dad wasn't in my life. So I thought, you know, maybe there's a reason he doesn't like me. And like, it's weird how you carry that with you into your 50s. Are
do.
you kidding
Yeah.
me? And so
Yeah.
I'll force myself to sit down and read comments and letters and emails that people send me saying, Rick, you changed my family's life.
Yeah.
And it's not to just boast myself up or build myself up. It's to remind myself that, Rick, you were given a purpose, I think,
Yeah.
when you were born. You just didn't know it.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. And I like how you brought up that, you know, it was later in life that you discovered what your purpose was. It was later in my life that I discovered what my purpose was. But sometimes that's while we're building those bridges, right? We're building all those character traits that we need to be able to make a difference.
I was walking into Gonzaga University every single day, sitting in a little tiny wooden desk that a kid would sit in every day as a student amongst 7,000 20-year-olds. And to tell you it was, I mean, I was out of my element is just like, it was wild. But I found so much of myself there. Like I realized, like, this is where I belong. And Gonzaga was very clear, Rick, we've been waiting for you. This is your time.
Yeah.
And so I remember going there and I was holding the teachers accountable. I was like, I'm here. I'm spending a lot of money to be here. And I'm using what you're teaching me today. I'll be using it out on the streets. I need you to bring it real.
Yeah.
And teachers either loved me or they were like, oh God, here comes this guy again, because I was not kidding around. I'm not 20 anymore. I'm 50 and I've got a purpose now and I understand what my purpose is and I don't want to waste any more time. So if you're here with me to help me, fine. If not, I need you to move away just for a second. You know?
Yeah. Because I don't have any more time to waste,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah.
don't have any, hey, oldest intern in my 30s. There we
Right?
go. Right there. You know what? At that point, we figured out, okay, we don't have any more time to waste. We have things we want to do and we've got a purpose and we're going to go for it. So get out of my way.
And I think when I was younger, I remember being a normal mid-20s guy. I thought everybody needed my opinion, right? So I was always trying to give advice, and I was 20. Like, I hadn't even been on this world,
Right.
this planet very long, and I'm telling people how to live their life, and my life wasn't in order, but I was giving advice. And like, it's weird now, like getting older, maturing, talking less, listening more. Like, it's really moved me to the point where, like, oh my gosh, when I say something now, some people actually take it seriously. And because most of my life it was like, oh, you need to be quiet, but, and I want to use that in a good way. I don't ever want to, use my influence to bring down a business or tell somebody, oh, I hated the food at this restaurant, let's never go there and eat. Like, I want my influence to be good stuff. Like,
Yes.
and so that's my purpose every day when I wake up, is like, what can we do today to bring smiles and happiness to people?
To give the positive side of things,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so let me kind of pick up here. And you, again, I remember from a conversation we had, but it's been a couple of years ago when I did an event, and you were like, I didn't graduate from high school. So it was later that you graduated from high school, and then you went to SCC. It was at SCC?
Yeah.
And then you got accepted at Gonzaga.
Yeah. So when I dropped out of East Valley High School, I walked out of the school. There was no child left behind law back then.
Yeah.
So, now your parents would be in court and
Right.
you don't get to just miss
Yes.
school. Back then you could walk out of school and never return, and nobody called my mom to check on why I didn't show up. So one, that tells me that there was nobody really cared about me.
Yeah.
Right. So it was a bad feeling. And two, I loved it because I got to get on with my life. Well, getting on with my life meant a lot of dead end entry-level positions because I had no education. I did go to SCC back then and get my GED, which I never had to prove, never had to show anybody my entire life. So I still don't know what that was all about. But for 28 years, I just went from dead end job to dead end job. And then on that day that I met Jared, the homeless man, I was on my way to SCC to beg them to let me be a student. I was not going to leave that school until I got to be a student. And I wasn't excited. I wasn't happy about it. My lights were shut off. My rent was due multiple months. I didn't have a car. Like, life was bad. And I knew it was my Hail Mary pass. I wouldn't say I was suicidal at the time, but I was honestly starting to, at that age, wonder what my purpose was.
Yeah.
And like, I'm only going to be remembered as the guy who struggled a lot. I was funny. I was a good guy, but man, Rick struggled a lot. And I knew there had to be something else for me. And so I walked into SCC, and we talked earlier about hope and those little pieces of hope. There's big pieces of hope, like you get married, you meet that special someone, you find a job that you want. Those are big, obvious pieces of hope. But I'm going to give you an example of a small piece of hope that you would actually almost think was the opposite. I walked in, I took my assessment test. They had to know what my reading and writing and math was. I scored really low, which I knew I would. And the lady came out and said, Rick, you scored really low. And I was like, wow, could you say that any louder? Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I knew that was going to happen. And she goes, and the next thing she said changed my life. She said, I want you to know that people have scored lower. And I know that sounds funny, but I literally, something clicked in my brain and I was like, wait a minute. So I'm not the worst student in the history of the world. And so it gave me hope that I might be able to finish it. And the whole time I was at SEC, I was in my van for 6 weeks, living in my van in the parking lot at SEC, doing my homework with a flashlight. And I never, ever thought I was going to quit. And I'd quit everything in my life. But something told me, Rick, they can take your job, they can take your car, they can take your house. You can't take what I learned. So whatever I learn is mine to keep. That doesn't mean that whether I'm homeless or whether I'm making $1 million a year. And that changed everything. And so I started just soaking it up like a sponge. I was on honor roll the whole time I was there, which just blows me away even thinking about it. And then Gonzaga was just right there for me saying, here we go. We need you. We want you. Let's go. This is what we're about. And then off and running, I went.
It's like somebody took a chance on you.
Yeah.
And then you were like, okay, you're taking it.
Yeah.
You're taking a chance on me. I'm all in.
It's funny because when I started SEC, I told my teachers and counselor there that I don't want to be a roofer. I don't want to be a mechanic. Like, I'm too old to start a career necessarily, but I've been bitten with this giving back bug, and I love it. It makes me feel good. I don't know if there's a job where I'm just a giver backer, like I want to be a giving back person.
Yeah.
And they laughed and they weren't mean, but they were like, well, we'll figure out where you fit, and I get messages from those teachers today going, Rick, I didn't understand what you meant by that. And now I totally get it. You weren't kidding. You wanted to help people. And I was serious from then on. Like I only want to help people because not only does it help the person, but it makes me feel good. Mm-hmm. And somehow it lifts my life in ways that I can't really explain.
I was just going to ask you that. I was going to say, sometimes the giver gets more than the receiver, right? Yeah. I mean, that's such a...
And people think I'm going through a midlife crisis. Some people aren't sure what, and it's really more of a midlife awakening. It's like, no, this is just something I've discovered. And if you are interested in it, I'd love to share it with you. But if not, I'm still going to go do this. And so fortunately, a lot of people resonates with them. And they're like, Rick, I want to do this with you. And that's when, when we have a little girl who has to go to Texas or fly home from Texas from her little brain surgery that she was getting, and we needed a pilot with a private jet, that stuff can happen in 1 hour online because of all these people that work with you, know. Here's an example I want to share with you. 10 years ago, I was asked to leave a restaurant downtown because I was homeless and I'd eaten my food. I'd stayed in there way too long because it was cold and I didn't want to go out to my van. And the owners came over and asked me to leave. And it was the lowest I've ever felt as a human being because I never wanted to be that guy. Right. Yeah. And they weren't mean about it. They were just, it was time for me to go. And so fast forward to 2020, I drop off a check to that same restaurant owner for $2,000, $2,500 to save their restaurant during the pandemic. And they don't remember who I was because they've had a million customers. Right. I obviously remember who they are. And it wasn't a good time for me to bring it up. It never felt like I needed to remind them. It just put a smile on my face because I'm the same exact guy. Back then I had no friends and no connections. Over here, I have 100,000 people and connections. And so that connection piece is, I'll preach that till the day I'm dead. Like, you can throw money at shelters, you can create programs, you can change laws, but until you connect someone with the world around them, you're spinning your wheels like we do every year. And we don't understand that winter can kill people and hot weather can kill people in the streets. Like, we start over every year. And it's like, if you give people a purpose to even get up, they're going to do things like I did. And that's what I want to talk about,
I love that. So it's everything that you've been through. It's the wealth of knowledge that you gained going back to school, which as an adult it's hard and it's amazing all at the same time, right? Because it's hard because, well, you're older. It's right. Amazing because you're older and you have this appreciation for all that it has to offer, and you're going to take it all in. But your experiences in life and then your knowledge that you gained all went into this incredible organization, this nonprofit that has given back so much to Spokane. I want you to talk about some of those really special moments for you. I know you talk about the backpack and that day you were 44 and it changed your life, but you've had many others. Are there some that really stand out to you? Oh man. I mean, big ones like just raising thousands and thousands of dollars almost overnight to feed kids in school. So I know that sounds cliche and, we always want to feed kids, but there's a lot of schools that don't have the Bite to Go program and they're just looking for a sponsor. Yeah. And so I stepped in and was like, what if we just become your sponsor? We just get the community, I think we're up to 4 schools now and it's thousands of dollars. It takes a lot of money to do these things, but doing that in such a quick way with very little effort, people are always like, you must not sleep. You work around the clock. And it's like, no, I don't. I work very minimal. It's the internet that takes it and runs with it. And then people give me a ton of money and then I just give that money back out. And that's all it is. So it's not like an exhausting thing that I do. Forget sometimes we just have to ask. Yeah. If you ask and the right people hear it and they're needing to help do something or it triggers something within them, just ask. Yeah. And one of my favorite things, and it was an idea that I had because when I was 16, my grandmother sold her house. My grandma and grandpa got a divorce, which was just blew my mind at 16, that's just like life shattering. And she took her money and she got herself into a little trailer, I think. And she gave me $500 to start school with school clothes. And I'd never started a school year with new clothes. It was always just tattered and shoes were a big thing. If you came to school on the first day with dirty shoes, it was just basically a sign saying I'm super poor, And so
I remember going to the mall with my best friend. He got $500 from his family, and we spent the whole day at the mall. And it was probably one of my favorite days as a teenage boy. And I started my school year, had the most amazing ninth grade at East Valley Middle School, made more friends. It was my first year I had girls who were interested in me, because at the time that wasn't even a thing. And it was just a very monumental moment. And it was all because of freaking those clothes, right? And so I thought to myself, I want to do that for kids. I want to take kids to the mall. I don't want to take them to a thrift store. I don't want it to be a voucher program where everybody in the store knows they're poor.
Right.
I want to give them a Visa card with $500 on it and take them to the mall and let them and their parents be normal mall shoppers. And so I presented that idea and that story to my followers, and we raised $33,000 in a few days and took like 77 kids shopping. I don't know what the math is, but we've done it a few times. So we've sent hundreds of kids to the mall. And what's cool is we get teachers, local teachers, to volunteer. And so it's not just anybody volunteering. These are teachers that see these kids in class, and they volunteer to go to the mall and kind of be their shopping buddy. And it was the most amazing experience, because there was like a little girl who didn't know what to do with the tag on her shirt because she'd never had a new shirt before.
Oh my gosh.
And we don't realize those things until they hit you with it.
Yeah.
And this little girl walks up to you and says, "What do I do with this tag? I've never had a new shirt." And I had to turn away because I was like, I can't do this right now. And then kids getting to take their parents out to lunch there, which they've never been able to. So they were laughing, and some kids chose not to treat their parents at all because this was their time to shine. It was just such an amazing thing. And the community kept showing up for it time and time again. And those are the moments that I realized, like, yeah, this is good. This is the good stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
You're making me cry, because I'm just like, oh my gosh, the moments we take for granted, right, are so special.
And kids always bring
Yes.
I speak a lot to groups of business people and churches, but whenever I go to a school, it's my favorite audience, because the kids will say the most wild, honest things, and they don't care. And so
they do.
I'll hear the best quotes I get are from little kids, and it's just like, this is amazing. Yeah.
Same thing going to do school.
One boy wanted a skateboard in the mall, and he knew that it wasn't clothes related. He knew it had, and so he was really having a hard time, and his mom was trying to convince him to get clothes, and they came over and talked to me, and I was like, you know what, buddy, if this makes you feel good, I want you to have that skateboard. And his mom was like, are you kidding me? But that's like how extreme I'll go to that dignity part of it. I want dignity in these things. Whenever I would go to a food bank, I knew that the workers there knew that my family was poor. And as nice as they were, it was a gross feeling. I don't like that feeling.
Right.
And so anything we do, you'll notice that we do it in a way that eliminates that. We don't take pictures of people and blast it. Hey, let's take a picture of you in your roughest moment.
Right.
Me giving you a sandwich. Like we make sure that dignity is the first thing, and then we go after that. And it's been a winning recipe. And I hope that other nonprofits and other people start seeing that and using it as well.
I'm going to go back to the biggest hearts have been biggest hearts. You have one of the biggest hearts I've ever met in my life. You really are a special person. But your heart is that big because you understand.
Yeah.
And a firsthand experience. So you know how to treat people with dignity, because you know how it feels to be on the other side of that.
I'm an empath for sure. I bet you are.
Yes.
And to a point where, I mean, I honestly feel like I feel what people feel. And it's a blessing and a curse. But like, if I see someone that looks upset just sitting on the corner, I don't know their story. They could be fine, but something in me is like, I wonder if they're having a rough day. Like, I don't know. It's just, and I know this is funny. I want to get real, right? We're getting real today.
Yeah, get real.
So
do it.
My following is 90% women 40 and older. And so that doesn't surprise me.
You and the ladies.
What's that?
You and the ladies.
That doesn't surprise me. I was raised by my mom and my grandma and my two sisters. I didn't have a dad in the picture. I didn't have a brother. And so being raised by all women was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
I don't know how to work on cars. I don't know how to hunt. I don't know anything about guns. But I guarantee I can braid hair better than anybody in this building probably. And so it does not surprise me that my following is these moms and grandmas that, and I'm not dissing any of the men. So the men listening, I want you to know, I love you. I'm a man. But we have a lot that we can learn from the women in our lives. And my following they want to help first. And then they might judge or ask questions second. But their heart is to help people first. And that's the kind of audience I needed to get the work done that we do, right? I don't need people to throw a wrench in everything every 5 minutes and micromanage everything. I need people to get on board with me and know that we're going to help people. And sometimes people take advantage, and that's human nature. I've got stories upon stories.
Yes.
But for most people, they're good people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what makes it work. It's opened up an opportunity for people to donate and help in ways that they never could. So I've had people message me and say, Rick, I'm 60 years old. I live by myself. I'm a woman. I can't go out in the streets like I want to and just hand out food because I'm scared. And I'm like, no, I totally get it. And they say, but what I love about what you do is you let me be a part of it without that part of it. I can do the things that I want to do with my money without just giving somebody money, hoping that they do the right thing with it. And so I think that is really a blessing, and that people that resonates with people is that they can, if you don't like what we're doing Monday, wait till Friday, because we'll probably be doing something totally different.
Yes.
And you might resonate with that. And so Joe Ader from Open Doors, the executive director at Family Promise, told me one time that I was the Swiss Army knife of nonprofits. And as much as I want that to be a compliment, it's also kind of made me realize, like, we do so much that people kind of get confused on what we do. And so that also led to me kind of wanting to shut down the nonprofit and kind of go out and do my own thing where I can really just be all out there and people will know it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I want to talk about that. But I want to ask you quickly, because we talked about, like, this gives people such an avenue to be able to help, where maybe they wanted to help. They knew they wanted to do something. They had a heart. They would see things and would grab, but they didn't know what to do, where to go, how to help. There's so much of that.
Yeah.
But you really have given them that vein to be able to, like you said, okay, if you don't like what I'm doing on Monday, wait till Friday, because it'll be something different, and that might grab somebody else's attention. I think that that's actually such a beautiful thing there. It really is a compliment to be able to reach so many different.
And I'm trying to get the word out to other nonprofits, because there are nonprofits that are amazing nonprofits. I'm friends with a lot of people that have been doing the same thing for 100 years, 50 years. And when you are just hammering people with the same message over and over again and just hoping that they give you money, and just the nonprofit world is set up to almost work against each other, because it's such a fight or flight. Like, everybody's just trying to take care of themselves. And I was always one to want to work with other nonprofits, but I realized that a lot of nonprofits are kind of scared to put their guard down and work with another nonprofit, because that means they might lose out on the things that they need.
Right.
And I want nonprofits to know that in this day and age with social media, when you're able to take 100,000 people and everybody gives you $1 or $2, you can do huge things. You don't need those $10,000 donations, $5,000 donations that you're focused on.
Yeah.
You can really tap into a whole market that's out there, because the world is changing. Your donors aren't the same as they were before. And we've got this younger group of people that are very tech savvy, and it's time to tap into that. And it's really scary when you have to put your guard down and do something new. So I totally understand why it's not happening as fast as I want it to happen. But I really believe that until we all work together, it's going to be rough for everybody out there.
It's true. It is true. And I think you're right when you say they're scared to work together because they might lose a piece of what was theirs, right?
Yeah.
But if we work together, then we build it bigger.
I call it the dangling carrot theory. So, like, a bank or a credit union will come out and say, we've got $5,000. Who's your favorite nonprofit? And we've won those so many times because at the moment we were the hottest thing out there, right?
Yeah.
And we started giving our winnings to other nonprofits, because it's not fair to these nonprofits that don't have a social media presence but are doing amazing work. And that's not fair to me. And so I want to lift, and that's another reason I love getting out of it, because I can start lifting up those nonprofits that are doing amazing work that nobody knows about, because they spend all their money and time doing the hard work, but they don't have a budget for social media.
Yeah.
And if I have an influence and you are doing good work, we're going to jive together and it's going to work out for everybody.
So this is summing you up in a nutshell right here. This is just who you are, right? You're always just looking out for everything. But you and I were talking earlier, because we've had some similar things as far as when you're on social media, you can get all of the love in the world, but you can also get all the hate in the world. And it's amazing to me that that hate can come towards somebody who's doing so much good.
Yeah. And there's time, and you know this, I could get 1,000 people to tell me how wonderful I am. And then I get one person who says something that just, and then I think about that and I'm like,
right?
Why do I waste my time? Yeah, I know. And that's all I'm thinking about, even though I just was told by 1,000 other people, you're amazing. You're doing great. That's fine. It's just, I'm a people pleaser and I don't want people, I want to know why you don't like me. And that's fine if we have to go our separate ways. But when you just blatantly say something that maybe isn't even true, it's like, can I have a second to talk to you? Like, this isn't right. You can't just do that. But I've learned over time. I mean, 10 years of it, I've definitely gotten a lot better at not letting it affect me and seeing red flags a mile ahead. And my wife was really good at, we're polar opposites. So she was really good at saying, Rick, like that guy's taking advantage of you. And I'm like, no, we're like best friends. I love this guy. And then a year later, when the guy took advantage of me, she's like, I told you. And I'm like, I know.
We need to have that balance, right? Yeah.
So
thank goodness for that balance.
Yeah. And it's taught me a lot. Like, what's funny is now I get asked to go to meetings a lot. So Rick, can I meet you for coffee? Can I meet to talk about this idea that I have or whatever? And I'm really big on, I need to know now what this meeting's about, because you're not going to surprise me in the middle of it. You're not going to get me there on one notion. And then I realize, oh, you want my following for no reason at all, or whatever. And so I really hold them to it, and people will hem and haw and try to get around why they want to meet with me, or they'll get right to it and we can have a meeting. But if I know what you're doing. You're trying to not put in 10 years of work and have access to my followers that I've put in 10 years of work with. It's fine. It's human nature. I totally get it. I don't hate you for it. It's just that I'm not going to waste my time anymore meeting up with people when that's all they want. So that goes kind of along with that. Like, there's the negative part of it. Luckily, the positive part completely outweighs the bad parts.
Even though the bad does ugh. But I've learned, and I say this to people, I try to remind myself of it, is that the critics are always in the cheap seats, right? Because the people playing the game know how hard it is to play the game. So they're not going to criticize anybody who's down there on the field with them. And the cheap seats, they're free.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I love that.
You're not doing any work.
I love that. I think of that.
So easy.
Quote about being in the arena. And I think, and it's the same thing that you're talking about.
Same vein,
And if you think about that, you realize how quickly you can let go of that hateful comment. And 9 times out of 10, they're just suffering in ways that we don't even understand. So they're just yelling at the world in general,
I was wondering, and I'll be honest with you, like when I first read that you were going to shut down giving back, I was like, oh gosh, please don't let it be because
something bad that happened.
The haters out there, the negative people, because gosh, you've done so much good.
No. And I've had people reach out and they're a little concerned. Like, are you sure that you're just really wanting to open up another chapter? And it's like, no, honestly, like I don't have anything to be ashamed of. 10 years has been like, I have more in that 10 years that could last me 2 lifetimes of just happy thoughts and memories. And when I go to an old folks home, eventually I'm going to have so many fun memories to rely on that it's not going to be a problem there. It's just that I'm getting older. And if I was 30, I'd probably just keep doing this. Right. But I'm 54 and I want to travel and I want to do things and I want to be able to do it in a way that I don't have to, I love my board to death, but you have a board of directors that you have to get votes on things that you want to do. And I'm just that type of person that I just want to go out and do things. I don't want to have to ask people for permission. And they all know that. They love me and they're like, no, we get it. 10 years has been amazing. But I definitely don't want people to think that it's on a negative thing, and give me 5 minutes with them and they'll realize like, oh, he's super happy. Like this guy is happier now than he was when he started.
Okay, good. Give me your 5 minutes then. Rick Clark, what is next for you, my friend? What can Spokane expect?
Okay. So if I'm going to be honest, and people ask me all the time, what is your next step? And I couldn't really look for a job while I was a nonprofit executive director because that would have looked weird, right? So I had to wait until I was completely wrapped up before I even started to put feelers out, that's one option. And I've started getting job offers that are absolutely ridiculous, Leslie, like things I never thought I would.
I am not surprised.
Yeah, no. And so just knowing that is like, okay, Rick, I think you're going to be fine. Like you don't have to, and I'm a person that dives into things. I don't have anything planned out. Like I've always been that way. And so I don't have a huge plan other than, over the last couple of years, social media has really taken off for me, and I'm actually making money paying my bills with my TikTok and my Facebook. I don't make a ton of money, but I pay all my bills. Like I don't have to work right now if I don't want to. And so I'm choosing not to right now because I'm just going to see what happens. And now with more time, I can share more stories. I can do more writing. And those are the things that I love. My biggest love is just sharing people's stories in a way that make people move to action. And I feel like I have a gift in that area, and I don't want to cut it off by going into a cubicle Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I've done those jobs before, and just about killed me because I can't be creative. I don't have the freedom to do things. And now I'm in a position to get to do that. And it sounds weird even talking about it because it just sounds like such a weird, that's one of those things that I'm still worried what people are going to think about my plan. But it's like, you know what, Rick, you've built something that you can do whatever you want. And if people don't understand that, then they've missed out on the entire message. So, so that didn't answer any of your question other than right now I'm going to take care of my family. I've got 2 nephews living with me now that really need me. And we're having an amazing time just living life and teaching them things about life as they get ready for adulthood. And the social media thing is just amazing. So, and I want to be very clear. I've been on Facebook running my mouth for 20 years now, 19 years. So I'm not doing these things because I'm getting paid now. I would be doing this anyways. It's just that Facebook has decided, okay, you've been doing this long enough. We're going to pay you now. Yeah. And that's been pretty exciting.
It really is. It's so exciting. And I'm going to tell you, I've been following you since the backpack days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So to watch you progress and to see what you've done in this community has been just nothing short of a miracle, really, for this area. And so such a huge thank you again for all you've done, for being exactly who you are.
Stop it.
No, I'm not going to. And I'm going to ask it, will you come back again?
Yeah.
And just catch us up on where you're at and how we can help support you and what you're doing to do great things.
I totally will. I love this. This podcast is very comfortable. I've been invited to some podcasts that are a little bit awkward, and that's normal, when but I love your podcast. I watch all of them, and
thank you. That means the world.
I mean, you've been doing this. You're very comfortable with your questions, and you know how to steer the conversation. And I just think that's so important when you're doing a podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That means a lot to me.
Yeah,
that means a lot to me coming from you. It really does. And this is kind of like that next wave for me. It's, you get to a certain age and you're like, okay, what's next? And I also bore easily. So
yeah.
I'm like, I got to be doing something.
I don't want to get to the end and just be like, oh, I missed out on so many opportunities. And my life was headed that way, but now it's not. And I'm making up for all of it. And people are like, are you tired? And I'm like, I'm tired, but I've also had a lot of time to rest up for this moment, and I'm ready. So I'm just going to do it a little bit different.
It's a good tired.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a good tired.
It's awesome.
Rick, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for everything, and thank you for being here.
Thank you too.
All right.
All right.
Everybody go live the rest of your days. Make them the best of your days.